So it's definitely worth going over this stuff and verifying it for yourselves. Stop Noahide Law. I don't think it can be stopped at this point, but public law, I guess it's 102-14, was signed into law by George H. Bush Sr. Pictured here, it's cataloged at the Library of Congress. He is surrounded by unbelieving Jews who are all around him. This was done in 1991. This actually makes more sense with regard to his famous New World Order speech. But see, it's not just that president. There's many presidents who have signed. That looks like Ronald Reagan there. There are a variety of individuals who have signed on. I think that's kind of silly they put that beard on him, but here's Bush Jr. This guy's eyes look completely weird and freaky. Let's just hope that that's a lighting problem. Let's hope. They kind of look a little demon possessed there. I only see white. That's really weird. Why do I only see white? This guy over here, when I look at this picture, this always cracks me up because these guys are all staunch and looking over this direction, and this guy's looking this direction. I already said this guy looks straight out demon possessed. But this guy has this little duper's delight smile on his face, like, ha ha ha, you know exactly what we're doing. And it's just funny how when you see all these presidents in photo after photo, all this information keeps popping up again about the Noahide Laws, Education Day, for Schneerson, you just keep seeing this involvement with unbelieving Jews, always in this black garb and these hats. And you have to start begging the question, asking, how come they don't ever surround themselves with believing Jews who would actually make more sense? Because these people purport to be Christians, these presidents. They're all Christians, they'll tell you. Every one of them will say, I'm a Christian. Even Obama. And he's signed on to this thing too. Even he says he's a Christian. They're all Christians. But in reality, what they are Freemasons. And it kind of starts to make sense because Freemasons are the ugly cousin of Kabbalah, unbelieving Jews. Their religion is all the same thing. And that's why they have made laws to reflect and are motivated by their religion. And part of that religion is to usher in this theocratic society where one dictator, one king, one Messiah rules over everybody else. And these are the rules that you have to be in compliance with if you're going to be here. And then they will monitor you to make sure that you're following them. And if you don't, oh my. Okay, and they continue to sign these president after president. And again, look at that, same one, 102-14. And proclaiming on Education Day. Well, what's the education? It's re-education. It's that Christianity got it wrong. This is what they're saying, that they have the wrong Jesus. It's all incorrect. We haven't gotten peace. Why haven't we gotten peace if we're supposed to have peace by the Messiah? And they are setting people up to re-educate them that this other Messiah, this dictator that will have all this power, that is going to be enhanced with AI, that is going to have all the technological capabilities attached to his body. He will be the head cheese, the head dictator, and these are the rules that you have to come underneath in order to be part of this kingdom. And they're saying you need to listen to these Jews. And so you have these Freemason presidents that lie with their faces, lie with their lips, saying, I'm a Christian, to keep the evangelicals busy and distracted, thinking, oh, yay, we've got one of ours on Team USA. But in all reality, that is false. You have a Freemason that is playing around with unbelievers that seek your demise. And that's why, even though you'll listen to people like Michael Heiser or Doug Hamp, they're just coming out of the woodwork now, all trying to pacify you and tell you, look, there's no big deal. Even though it's a law, it's not going to go anywhere. The Jews aren't trying to take over. I just did a video talking about Ben Shapiro, who's calling everybody that believes in this threat and this concern a conspiratorial nutbag. And you're not supposed to worry about it. And, it's just funny. If it's something that's not of value, why are people putting and investing their time in signing these laws over and over and over and over and over again? If it's not a big deal, if it's not going to be useful, if it's not going to be used. Do you ever do things on a consistent, ongoing basis that are a waste of your time, effort, and energy? That's not how human behavior works. People don't sign things into law and then just go, oh, nothing to see here, move along. We're not going to do anything with this. Of course not. That doesn't make sense. So, look at this. During Biden's 4-day tour of RX-84 FEMA camps, Biden was given demonstrations of fully modern and humane guillotines or guillotines. I've heard it both ways. Well, isn't that just precious? Yeah, and I've already done a video talking about Mossad, talking about Rebecca Roth, and how she also, in all of her research about 9/11 and the involvement of Mossad, she had to delve deep down into their motivation of their religion. And she was also able to look into Halliburton. I believe it's called Halliburton, that is dealing with Cheney and these FEMA camps, and of recently in this 2019 year, they have popped up as being used for these supposed immigrants, and they want you to think that they're not going to be used for you, and so that is just a big giant lie. So when you see things like this, they want to attach name calling. They want to tell you, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're an idiot, you're a nutbag, you're this, you're that. And it's this childish name calling to dissuade people from going any further and researching. But Trad Cat Knight, who I believe is Catholic, so do be wary with that, he has a lot of information. And so he is a very good source to go to. He has all kinds of things that make you go, with regard to this whole issue. And they are just constantly trying to convince people that you don't need to worry about this. This isn't a big deal. And even though the Bible predicts that this is precisely what God said would happen, we know that from Revelation 20 very clearly. It says that there are a myriad of people will be raised to new life to reign during Christ's 1,000-year rule, and those were the beheaded individuals at that time through this coming 7-year period. Yom Hadin kicks it off, Feast of Trumpets, etc., Rosh Hashanah. One of these days, God's going to fulfill that, and there'll be a beginning of the end. It will ensue, and throughout the course of that period of time, the Bible tells us very clearly that there will be many, many people who are new converts and who will, at the guillotine, they will refuse to deny the Lord Jesus Christ, and they will be murdered and beheaded, only to be raised again by the Lord. So it is useful to look into this information and not be dissuaded by name calling. So anyhow, long story short, what you're hearing is a lot of people that are using name calling, and then they don't show you any actual information that would designate and show you that this is in fact the truth, and none of them talk about the decapitation aspect of this. But let's look here. So this gentleman, U.S. Congressman, these dates, your U.S. government can now legally kill Christians for the crime of worshiping Jesus Christ. A diabolical deception has been perpetrated on the American people by their own leaders, senators, and congressmen who have sold their soul to the devil. On March 5th, 1991, in the House of Representatives, and on March 7th of 1991, in the U.S. Senate, without any knowledge of or input by the people of the United States, U.S. senators and congressmen passed a law that is so outrageous and frankly unconstitutional that it forces the American people to be bound by a set of monstrous rules called the Noahide Laws, rules that make the belief in Jesus Christ a crime punishable by decapitation by guillotine. On March 20th, 1991, President George H.W. Bush, a supposed Christian, signed this bill into law. Before you respond, no, that can't be, not in our free country, let me explain. The passage of this law, H.J. Resolution 104, is especially troublesome to me because I was a member of the U.S. House of Representatives at the time it was passed. This U.S. Congressman up here, Bill Dannemeyer, is speaking. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I have allergies. Because I was a member of the U.S. House of Representatives at the time it was passed. And even worse, I was in the House chamber the very day it was passed, voting on other legislation. Yet I, as a U.S. Congressman, had no knowledge that it had been passed or even that it was to be brought up for a vote. How could this be? How could this deception be so pervasive that those of us who had sworn to uphold our country's constitution, particularly those of us, few indeed, who really took our position seriously as the protectors of the people, could be totally in the dark regarding this content of this bill and its passage by the leaders of this country by treachery and deceit? Here's how it happens. And he goes through and he explains very clearly how, in fact, this was done. And I will put links so that you can see all this stuff for yourself. Let me see here, hold on. There's a lot of information here. On the 31st of January, 1991, a innocuous sounding resolution was introduced designating March 26, 1991 as Education Day U.S.A. It was purposely given this name to deceive the American people. It was, in fact, a double deception because not only did the resolution have nothing to do with education, but it was also deceptively billed as a vehicle for recognizing the 89th birthday of Rabbi Mendel Schneerson. But in truth, the resolution was nothing less than a secret, underhanded plot to control the American people by Noahide Laws, which in other videos I already show you straight from their mouth, noahide.org. It explains it all. I invite you to check out my other videos. A subterfuge for the elimination of Christianity, the elimination of all Christians, and the enslavement of all remaining Gentiles, which is exactly what the Bible tells you is going to happen. The resolution, first introduced by Robert Mitchell of Illinois, was then referred to the House Post Office and Civil Service Committee. Early in March 1991, 225 members of the House had signed on as co-sponsors, etc., etc. They were probably told not only that it was a resolution in honor of Schneerson's birthday, but most likely had no knowledge of this treacherous Noahide laws that were a silent attachment. Well, whether that's the case or not, I don't know, but it is what it is, and it has been done. It is law, and it is there. I was not one of the co-sponsors, etc., etc. He goes on to say, a congressman's ears pricked up when he hears the words unanimous consent because he is aware that this may be a signal for skullduggery. And in this case, it certainly was. On this day the resolution was passed, the entire membership of the House of Representatives had already been dismissed after having been told that the day's work, including all the voting, was over and we could all go home. So go home, we'll take care of everything else. Pat, pat on your head. It was then, after virtually all members had left, that the traitorous authors of this resolution brought it up for a vote on the House floor, with only 4 handpicked members present. It was then deceitfully passed by unanimous consent on March 5th, 1991, by voice vote with almost no one there and no record made of their names or how they voted. 2 days later, on March 7th, 1991, the U.S. Senate passed the resolution by voice vote, also with no recorded vote, and on March 20th, 1991, it was signed by President George H.W. Bush and became Public Law 102-14. And I will go ahead and put the rest of this in the description box below. There's usually something in the description box as I try to raise awareness and combat this idea that everything's fine and dandy. Don't worry about it. Nobody needs to be up in arms about this or to be giving the gospel to anybody because nothing bad is happening. Pat, pat on your head, you foolish little people, is what is trying to be propagated against society. So anyhow, I will go ahead and leave those links and this information down below. Thank you so much. And please check out all the videos. They'll all start to tell a piece of the painting here.